Today's demo is going to focus on a very important but often not talked about aspect of the Leostream platform, which is the Leostream Agent. As I like to always say, the Leostream Agent is small. It's a small component, but it's very, very mighty. It is responsible for a number of the end user experience features that are part of Leostream, as well as required if you want to really get the most out of your Leostream environment. So just to kind of step you through some of the things that the Leostream Agent does do before I show you a demo of it in action. First, I want to point out that it does install on all operating systems and pretty much always has since we developed the agent in the first place. There is a native Windows app for running on Microsoft Windows, and that will support any modern Windows operating system, either client OS or server OS. That runs as a native Windows service. And then there is a Java version that runs on Linux and macOS. As far as the agent's concerned, macOS actually essentially looks like Linux. We are working on removing the Java requirement. We realize that some security teams don't like installing Java on their Linux VMs. So in the future, next year, we're going to have one unified Leostream agent that installs across these platforms. But right now, there are these two different versions. Now, why are some of the reasons you should install the Leostream agent? Well, for one, the agent can be used to register your machines with your Leostream environment. So if you are not leveraging a hosting platform that we provide an integrated center with in Leostream, such as AWS or vSphere, let's say you just have physical machines or you have a proprietary cloud that you've developed, you can just install the Leostream agent on all of your VMs, and the agent will register the machine, physical or VM, with the broker, and now you can use all of the Leostream functionality with that machine. The agent also, because it is installed on the remote OS, the broker, connection broker, can use it to gain insight into the internal system attributes. So what this means is on the desktops page of the broker, you can see a list of what OSs do you have out there, what versions are they running, how much CPU is on the machine, and you'll see that information for all the desktops across all the platforms. So again, single pane of glass for really being able to dive into what's in your environment. And that information comes from the agent because the broker itself can't get information from the internal OS. Now, if you have used the agent to register your machines with the broker, the agent also gives you some power control over those machines. If you use a native center, we'll use the center APIs to power control the machines. If it's an agent registered machine, we use the agent, and that means the agent can power off the machine. It can also do a reboot on the machine. Now, if you do power it off using the agent, obviously now the agent's not running. So what do you do to power it back on? Well, in that case, we can leverage Wake on LAN. So the Leostream connection broker can send Wake on LAN packets to machines. So this works great in physical environments. Obviously, there are some networking considerations to take into account there, but that'll work just fine. So that kind of talks about how do you manage the machines themselves with the Leostream agent. Now we want to talk about managing user access and user experience. The first point I point out here is the control of RDP access. For a user to actually RDP into a machine, they have to be part of the remote desktop users group. The Leostream agent can actually automatically add and remove users from that group. So this gives you really great access control because now the agent is saying, only based on when the connection broker allows a user to log in, add them to that group, and then remove them. So users can't RDP to a machine outside of the Leostream environment. The Leostream agent also provides a set of USB device drivers so that you can use Leostream rules to indicate what USB devices is the user allowed to pass to their remote host. That does require drivers on both ends, so you need to use Leostream Connect with the USB drivers installed there as well. But this is great from a security standpoint because you can keep people from redirecting, say, USB sticks to the remote host while still allowing them to redirect the peripherals that they need to do their jobs. Typically, what I focus on when I talk about the Leostream agent is this next point, which is that the agent is responsible for monitoring the user's session. It's looking for when did the user log in, when did they log out, disconnect, go idle, lock the machine. And then in the broker, you can automate actions based on those events. But without the agent there in the first place, you never get the events and you lose all of that flexibility in the broker. So it's very important for those. And then the last little point here is about some client-based plans. I spent a lot of time also talking about pool-based plans, which are the protocol and the power control and release plans. But there is another type of plan in Leostream, which I call location-based plans. And those are the registry and printer plans. These allow you to change the user experience based on the location that the user is logging in from. So you can set registry keys on the remote desktop based on the user's location. You can attach network printers based on the user's location, but it's the agent on the remote machine that's actually doing the work to make that functionality work. Finally, some things that we're looking at adding, just to give you kind of a peek into the Leostream roadmap, is the Leostream agent is going to start doing some monitoring of desktop health. So things like what processors are running, how much CPU are they taking. We do not want to monitor what the user is doing, but we want to make sure that the machine is healthy for them as they move forward. So we always say, the Leostream agent is actually optional. You can use the Leostream environment and manage your connections to desktops without the agent. So if you are in an environment where your remote desktops are locked down and you are not allowed to install any other software, you can still use Leostream. It'll just be you just won't have all of the functionality. So if you can install the agent, really, why wouldn't you? It's really the best way to get the most out of your Leostream environment. So that was a lot to talk about. Now let's show it all in action. Let me share my screen. And then let me hide this guy. So this is the Leostream connection broker. We don't want to start there because we want to talk about the Leostream agent, but we will come back to that. For now, I'm just going to kind of step you through installing the agent and showing you the different things that it can do, just using my example Windows machine here. Installing, very straightforward. You just install the agent, accept the license agreement. Now, there are two tasks when you install the agent. If you want us to manage USB device redirection, as I mentioned, you do need to install the drivers. There's another thing that the agent can do, which is provide single sign-on for display protocols that don't natively include that. So you can install the Leostream agent credential provider, and then that way you can have SSO into your remote host. Now, many protocols don't require you to install this on the Leostream agent. It really only is, you see we list PC over IP and VNC as two examples. But if the protocol itself supports single sign-on, like RDP does, then we don't need to install the credential provider. So we'll leave that off for now. Now, one of the key things about the Leostream agent is that to secure it, it will only communicate and will only accept communication from the connection broker that you register it with. So I'm going to enter in this case, this is the IP address of my connection broker. It could be the virtual IP, the VIP of your connection broker cluster, whatever it needs, whatever address you need to use to allow your agent to register with the connection broker. So let me next through that. Now, before I hit install here, let me actually log in here and show you something. So now I've logged into the Connection Broker Administrator web interface, and I'm going to show you, here I have in the Centers page, this uncategorized desktop center. That is basically a bucket where any agent registered machine gets placed into. Right now there's 3 machines in there. I can see those by looking here. I created a pool of my agent registered machines, and that is everything in my uncategorized desktop center. So now if I look at my desktops page here, I filtered this page by that pool, and you can see the 3 machines that are currently there. I use this a lot personally in my environment for the physical machines that have Rdp remote workstation cards. I tend to put agents on them. That's what's currently installed here. That is not one of these machines. You can see the name. This is the name of this machine right here. So let's go ahead and install it. That will cause this agent to register with my connection broker. Because pools in Leostream are very dynamic, the machine will automatically get sorted into that pool and automatically show up on the resources desktops page. So let's go ahead and finish that. So usually when I install the drivers, I like to give the machine a good reboot. So we're just going to reboot that. And then we'll come back to our desktops page. And here I can look at the systems logs page. And as the machine reboots and the agent registers, it'll show up on the system log page here. So now the machine you see is being imported into the uncategorized desktop center, and then it'll finish being imported into the pool after the agent registers. So now you see it there. So if we look at this page now, you can see some of the information that actually comes from the Leostream agent. For example, we know which display protocols are installed on that machine because the agent reports that information. We know the operating system and the OS version, as I mentioned. And all of these columns on these pages are customizable, so you can actually show what information is most important for you to know about the internal workings of your desktop. Now, one thing to notice, I installed on purpose a slightly older version of the Leostream agent. Inside of the dashboard section here on the broker, there's a downloads page, and that will show the version of the Leostream agent that is currently included in your connection broker. And you, as new agents are released, you can actually upload them to the broker and you'll see the new version here. If this version is higher than what the agent reports on the desktop, then you can have an upgrade option here. So you can actually very easily come up here and push upgrades out to the desktop. You can even do this with the number of machines. So if I have multiple machines that I want to upgrade the agent all at once, I just select all the checkboxes and push out the upgrade and bam, you're done. And again, on the log, I can see this happening. So here I requested the upgrade. It happens, very quick process to do the upgrade. And then once the Leostream agent restarts, the new agent version will appear on the machine. And then you can see the new agent version here. All right, so now let's show a little bit of what else you can do with the agent as far as controlling the desktop and also controlling the user's access to it. I did mention, I'll just show you how this is done. I did mention that the agent can be used for power control of physical machines. So I can actually come here and control. And again, I can use the power off and start. That's reboot. That's actually a hard shutdown. I can use the reboot for a soft, graceful shutdown of the OS, or I can power off. I'll go ahead and just reboot that machine. And you'll see the reboot job submitted and the machine now rebooting here. So let's actually, I'm going to give this a display name just so I can prove to you that this is the desktop that's going to get offered to the user. So let's save that. And now let's look at how to give the user access. So first, if I already just to prove something to you, I'm ultimately going to log into this machine as the user Milo. So now Milo is going to try and do a direct RDP connection. And what you're going to notice is that is going to fail because he is not part of the Rdp group. And that's perfect. That's what we want to happen. Now let's offer that machine to the user in Leostream and show the agent adding them to the group and the connection actually succeeding. So to do that, let's go in the configuration section and show you what we did. I'm going to go down here and look at roles. I created a role here, add user to Rdp group. So it's quite straightforward. I just say I'm going to log the user in as a domain user. If you are using local users, you can do that as well. But I'm going to log them as a domain user and just have the agent add the user to and from the Rdp group. So now to get that desktop assigned to the user, you saw my pool, my agent registered machines, that now includes the desktop. Again, it happened automatically. I'm very simply going to use the default protocol plan. So it just launches RDP. One thing I want you to notice in here, though, is that I did turn off redirecting of the printers, specifically in the RDP file. I'm going to just use the default power control plan. In this case, I'm not going to have the agent do any power control. But for the release plan, I've set some release options in here to disconnect the user on idle. So what this is going to do is say after a minute, go ahead and disconnect the user from their session. So if after I've connected to the RDP session, a minute goes by and I haven't touched the keyboard or mouse, the RDP connection will be disconnected. Another minute goes by, the user gets logged out. Now for the demo, I did put my broker in debug mode so I could have these short time frames. So if you are testing, that's some trick that you can try. Put your broker in debug mode and you can quickly flip through these different release plans. Otherwise, the lowest time is 5 minutes. So just a little trick there. So now the policy is my demonstration policy. And here what I have is I'm going to offer one machine from the agent registered machine pool. Then I've applied a certain number of plans. And in order to get that machine that I just added by just registered through the agent, I'm using the pool filter here. So there were 4 different machines in there. They all had agents on them. I want to be able to get a particular machine offered. So I'm going to say, please prefer a machine that has a name that contains the text value, which happens to be my initials here. So this is another trick that you can use to tell the broker what's the best machine in the pool to offer. The other thing I'll point out in the policy is this is where you set USB device management permissions. So in this case, kind of did the opposite of what I said you might want to do. I said allow the broker to manage USB device pass-through, but only allow specific devices, and the only ones that I want to allow are mass storage device. You have a number of different ways to indicate different classes of devices to allow, or you can actually use vendor ID and product IDs to just really narrow it down to the specific peripherals that they're allowed to pass through. All right, so before we log in, let's run a test login and make sure we've got everything all good. So test login for Milo. So here I see my test parameters. Milo's logging in through the Leostream authentication server, and sure enough, my assignments rule will add him to the Rdp group. That's the role, and give him that policy. And if I scroll down, indeed, I get offered that machine that I just added there. So to show you that in action, here I'm going to log in using Leostream Connect. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to Leostream, and it's seeing there's the display name, so I know I did get offered that machine. And now in the background, the Leostream agent is adding the user to the Rdp group and then establishing the connection. So while that's logging me in, here you can see all of that happening here on the logs page. Now what you also see on the logs page are the notices that are coming from the Leostream agent. Milo has indeed logged in. Just setting up in the background, what it's actually doing is setting up some printer redirection for Milo as well. And the reason that is happening is because I actually established a printer plan for Milo. So if we just really quickly show you, this printer here was actually added to the desktop by the Leostream agent based on instructions that came from the connection broker. And you can see that happening here, redirected printers on the remote desktop. So let's show you why that happened. So I mentioned there's the pool-based plans, protocol, power, control, and release. Here's my printer and registry plans. These are not on by default. They're toggled on and off by the license key. So if you don't see them, we toggle them on for free. You just have to contact us and we can turn them on for you. In printer plans, essentially you create groups of printers that you want to assign out to desktops. And to add printers to the broker, you can either add them through a print server, or you can add them individually on the resources printers page. But I had added one printer and created a plan there. Registry plans are a way, as I mentioned, to set registry keys on the remote host. So you can create either local machine. Well, right now it's just local machine. We're looking at adding current user into here as well. But essentially, the broker will instruct the agent to add or modify key values based on the registry plan. How these plans get applied to the user is done through locations. This here happened now. Let me get to locations in a second because my minute went by. So if I look now at the system log page, my RDP session got disconnected because I was idle. It was just sitting in the background while I talked to you. And a minute went by, and so the connection got closed. We'll wait another minute and we'll see a logout notice here. Really quickly, I can show you. So if I come here and hit status, that's the broker reaching out to the agent. My minute has gone by, so I've also now been logged out. Just to circle back to locations, the printer plans got applied to that particular desktop because my Leostream Connect client fell into this location here. And it did that based on the fact that I set up rules to say device type is equal to Leostream API. That's my location. You can decide what's best for your locations. But then I set my printer plans here. And then what happens is the agent will add the printer plans when the user logs in, and the agent will actually remove the printers when the user logs out so that the machine's clean for the next person. So if we look back at the log page here, just to kind of close the loop on that, you see that the agent did send notification that the user was logging out, and that caused the machine to be released. And now if I go back to the remote, to just an RDP session here, and attempt to log in again as Milo, you know, it worked through Leostream, but if I come in here again and try, you'll see that it's going to be blocked because the agent took them back out of the RDP session. So the agent, it is doing a lot behind the scenes. If you want to give it a try, and obviously the rest of the Leostream platform, we do provide free trials. You can just contact us at sales@leostream.com. Thanks.